Hey, John. Good morning.
Good morning, John.
Good morning. Sorry, guys.
No worries.
And
Finally, you made it.
whoa, who are all these people? Is this our coffee?
Let us.
Is this our morning coffee?
Sorry.
Nothing. I didn't realize we were doing this morning.
Let me get people in.
Well, good morning, everyone.
Great. I guess we are already running late. So without waiting for a long time, John, very good morning to you out there in the East Coast. Thank you so much for joining in for this coffee chat session call today. Really appreciate you taking time so early in the morning. For this coffee chat, I'm also joined in by Anirudh, and Anirudh will be maybe picking some interesting questions and talking more about various use cases and studies that you've had and the implementations that you and me, and in fact, jointly as well as individually we have done, right? So really appreciate that. Everyone, thank you so much for joining in for this call again. It's a pretty interesting subject and topic, very, very close to me as well as John. John has almost lost his ears building transformation practices for businesses, right? So, John, welcome again. Without delaying, let's quickly get started with your journey, your introduction, and how did the entire transformation journey begin?
Wow. Okay. Well, so I have been in this industry since 1988. So it's going to be 35 years in this June. So clearly it's been a journey, and it started with in the world of microfilm for record storage and document storage, which led to capture of those documents, which led to capture of the data from those documents, which led to a full practice of data extraction, workflow, automation technologies, which led us into data automation and RPA. So it has been quite a journey that has taken a lot of turns along the way, but has brought me to where we implement full-blown end-to-end business process automation for our customers.
Great.
So, John, nice seeing you after a long. It has been a few months since we met. I think while in 88, probably, I don't know how many of us were born, who was in college, and you were really doing something in this area.
Thanks a lot for
that. I think, all and largely this audience that we have heard about all these things, all these nomenclatures, largely about 2015. So maybe 2014, 15 types, we started to hear, these things more. While you said you have been, kind of doing this 1988. Having said that, what has been your, kind of journey evolution from say 2014, 15 till now, as we are in 2023 now? How has it been like?
Well, I think that the biggest change in the market in this industry over that period of time has been in the world of RPA. RPA, although RPA has been around for a very long time, 15, 20 years probably, and maybe even longer, because at the end of the day, basically, it's a software application, some code that automates a process that basically just performs the work that a human would normally perform. It just exploded probably about 2015, 2016. It really became predominant in the marketplace. And it became what everybody believed to be the, all automation, full automation. And that's just simply not the case. In my opinion, RPA is a great tool. It's part of the tool basket for automation in general. And it's a very strong tool, and it's great in data automation, but it's for task automation and not necessarily, in my opinion, full-blown business process automation. I think in order to automate the business process from end to end, you need the other tools in your basket like OCR and workflow. Those allow, and RPA, those are the three tools in my mind that are predominant in this industry and allow for the full-blown automation of a end-to-end business process. So I would say RPA, and then the maturing of RPA, because RPA, when it first exploded, everybody went running for it. It's the answer. It's going to automate everything. RPA vendors quickly scrambled to include OCR and data extraction because they realized that a greater majority of the unstructured data is stuck in documents, and it has to be extracted from those documents in order for you to take advantage of that data and use it in your business process. So I think that RPA quickly realized that they needed other tools in addition to what they were offering, and they scrambled to either integrate to some other party's OCR tool, maybe even another party's workflow. Some of them developed their own engine and their own workflow, but they came around very quickly to realize that there were other very important tools that were required. So I guess that would be, in my opinion, what the last 5 to 6 to 7 years have been all about.
All right, thanks. And I think while it is relevant in most of the verticals and industries, where the eminent need you have observed in terms of which all industries and verticals, use cases where you have seen it's growing or being used the most, the need is most?
Well, I think clearly the financial services industry has been the biggest adopter of this technology. I think, first of all, they have the funds and the resources to do that. It's not a simple and inexpensive undertaking, although I think that's changing. In the world of RPA specifically, there are now companies that are offering RPA as a service, RPA in the cloud, which is a lot more affordable now for mid-sized companies and companies in other markets. But I think early adopters and the ones that really embraced were in the financial services, large banks, global banks, insurance companies. And like I said, I think that it's now becoming more affordable for other companies and other verticals, not just in that space. But my opinion is, and we've had great success in that space. There's a lot of business process. There's a lot of data automation opportunities in financial services.
Yeah. And if you would, and you have been, veteran in this, but in your journey, which was the most complex, and if you would remember one, if you would pick one out of many you would have done, the automation projects that you could think of, and if you could just let us know, the audience, the entire audience, which was the most complex that you found in your so many of which you did.
It's interesting. Even though there's a couple of answers to that question. The first one would be that if you think a simple process and a very, very predominant process for automation in our business is accounts payable. But when you're dealing with a global company, that accounts payable can be awfully complex, especially when you start dealing with taxes worldwide in different countries and the tax variances. But we also had, and this again is new technology over the last couple of years that is also really blossoming and becoming a little more mainstream, and I think it's just going to continue in that way. And that's the predominance these days of artificial intelligence. We ran into a use case not that long ago where there was no structure and unstructured content is not difficult, but if there's no labeling and no context around the data that you're looking for, it makes it very difficult to find that data. And with the use of AI in the right capacity, you can do a pretty good job of finding and locating and extracting that data. So the incorporation, I think AI by itself has obviously some very cool things, and it's going to change our world, and especially with some of the things that are going on in OpenAI. But I think when you incorporate it into the technology that we're already using and the existing OCR data extraction tools and workflow, and you incorporate AI and sentiment analysis and all the other things that have been kind of becoming more predominant in our industry, I think it becomes interesting, and you can deal with a lot more of those complex use cases. And this particular one was for a customer. They're in the federal government space, and it was in regard to annual donations. They are a nonprofit, an alumni association, and they solicit donations. And their forms vary greatly and weren't labeled, and had all kinds of data that they needed for their business process. So AI was a very, very strong tool for that particular use case.
So,
Morning, Steph.
okay.
Sorry.
Is there something in banking or CX automation, anything that you did, or is it largely on the accounting side?
No, in banking, we had a bunch. We automated some use cases in wealth management for several large institutions. We also implemented trade processing, global trade processing, as well as transfer documents. And there are some very good use cases within the financial space outside of finance that are also very, very good use cases for automation. Trade services was a really good one.
Okay. And in terms of ROI, when we are talking about tech and humans in the loop, what is the best way you think to build an ROI? Because obviously you also said that when this came, we thought it will solve, everything will be automated, everything, will be done automatically. But then, as I said, when you are building a complete ROI, probably you need human in the loop as well. So what is the best way to build this combination of technology and human?
Well, I believe, in all of my years and all of the implementations, and they've been a lot of implementations for automation in some very, very large companies. I've never been a proponent of reducing headcount. I believe that the automation allows the customer to do more work with the people that they have, or to allow those people to do other work that's more productive and and requires more knowledge and is more interesting and exciting for the employee. So I think automation technology can improve the employee experience as well as the customer experience. And I think that at the end of the day, your goal is really to make that process more efficient, give them better statistics and more data, and give them more accuracy in their process. So I think there's a lot of ways that you can provide an ROI. And typically what we do is we provide the ROI by saying we can take this process from X number of hours or X number of days down to Y number of hours. So an example is a manufacturing customer of ours. In their billing process, they had monthly recurring business, and customers were all at different amounts, different types of products, and different recurring invoices and for their process every month. And it would take 3 people the better part of the first 2 weeks of every month to do all the billing and make sure, and they sent out personal emails. They wanted to be personalized. And those 3 people have all kinds of other responsibilities. And we took that 2-week process down to 2 days. So they were thrilled to death, the employees, the 3 employees that were doing this. It's been fully automated. So we read a spreadsheet, we create an email, we attach an invoice, we send out a personalized email from that individual. And those, not only are the individuals, the employees, extremely happy that they aren't doing this mundane work every day for the first 2 weeks of every month, but the company is also realizing their revenue a lot faster because the invoices are going out more efficiently. So there's so many benefits to the employee, to the company, and at the end of the day to the customers, because they know when it's coming and when to expect it. So it's automation can certainly provide a strong ROI and just improve the overall experience for everyone.
Yeah, and I think before we get into this ROI and this thing, I think the discovery process itself should be elaborate, and we need to understand the whole current process before even we go to that implementation or execution part.
The discovery process is huge. You can't implement a solution without fully understanding the existing business process. So
Absolutely.
discovery is everything. You need to do an excellent job of understanding their business process, all of the touch points, all of the data involved, all of the requirements, to make sure that you are providing the best overall solution. And without discovery, you can't do that. So I totally agree. And discovery is an absolutely critical part of the process within automation.
Absolutely. I think Kapil, you want to ask him.
Sure. John, I guess pretty interesting use cases. This makes me think that, there was one problem statement that we were trying to solve was on, kind of how do we enable the insurers to know if there was a valid motor claim. And, there were thousands and thousands of, obviously it shouldn't be like that, but there were thousands of accidents happening every day. How would you enable businesses to kind of understand, when did the accident happen, what damage did it cause, what more can be done to kind of have accurate data reporting? I think this was a long journey in itself, and we realized that, when we kind of looked at automation, as you rightly mentioned, RPA is just a word. It's not the whole, probably more things to it. And I remember we ended up kind of having a custom machine learning model built for the same, right? And I'm sure that in your case, wherein you have been working with global clients, both on the HR side, financial practices side, from a data security standpoint, when I remember that, we once spoke about one of the largest file room digitization, 300 different type of documents coming in. What kind of approach, would these customers anticipate? From a process standpoint, what are the critical things that you think are extremely important to whether to automate or whether not to automate? And this bank, important one, because it run for months, if not for a year at least.
Well, you broke up quite a bit there, Kapil, so I'm not sure I got all of that, and I don't know that I fully understand your question. So I apologize, but maybe you could just repeat exactly what it is you're asking me? Is Kapil frozen? No.
Yeah. So
Yes.
am I audible now, John?
You kind of keep coming in and out, Kapil, but go ahead.
Cool.
Give it a
So
shot.
what I'm saying is, right. So what I'm saying is, from a banking use case perspective, data security becomes extremely, extremely important. The project is not just a small implementation. It can run for a very long period. So what are the key points that you look at justifying to business in terms of what are the right ways, right steps, what kind of complexities, we can deal with something like Kofax KT as a platform, if we have to just name one platform. So so that businesses can make informed decision on how the journey and the process looking like.
I mean, if you're asking me about the key metrics for automation, I think that the most important thing is to do a good job, as Anirudh mentioned, on discovery, so that you understand what their current process is, how long things are taking, what are the business rules, what are they doing manually today, and how can you then automate that process. Another one that we worked on was in sales order processing, and large global company that had salespeople going out, and when they closed business, they had a group of 10 documents that needed to be submitted to compliance to make sure that the 10 documents met a list of business rules, specifically 10 or 12 business rules that stated, is every document signed? Is it signed by the same person? Does it have the same company name? Do we have the right master services agreement? Do we have this document, and so on? And there was basically, and it would take this group of people, I believe there were 3 or 4 members in the team, as the sales orders came in, these 10 documents were 35-page PDF. So they would just go page by page and try and break it where they needed to and make sure everything was in compliance. So what we did is we took that 35-page PDF, we classified each document within that, and then we separated them into individual documents. We extracted all of the relevant data from each document. We made sure that they were signed and who signed them, and that they were all had the right business rules and compliance. And then we would present that to the user in a single interface that would have the list of the documents included, the ability of viewer of the document so they could toggle from document to document if they needed to. And then above that was a list of all the business rules and whether or not it passed or failed the business rule. So that the user now, this individual, instead of having to go page by page to a 35-page PDF and do all of this manually, and which would take them about a half an hour or so, 20 to 30 minutes. Now they go into a queue, and if everything passes, it looks good, they say, go ahead and send it. They can even choose, if everything passes the business rules, not to look at it at all. But if they need to, if it failed the business rule, we tell them exactly where it failed and why, and then they can take action, like send it back to the sales rep and say, this particular document wasn't signed, or this doesn't have the right company name, and so on and so forth. It took the 20 to 30-minute process down to about a 2 or 3 minute process, and it made it possible for them to process more new sales and new customers into their system more efficiently. So it's a matter of really getting deep into the understanding their existing process, all of the business rules and all of the requirements, to understand the metrics on the back end and provide those metrics and show them how much more efficient it is as a result of the automation technology. And I hope I answered your question, Capo.
Yeah. So I think you said BFSI obviously has a great potential and a lot of use cases. Anything you see in retail in terms of digital practices wherein we can, kind of use these technologies?
I think in shipping and logistics and retail, I think you can find some opportunities in RPA there. There's also potentially some opportunity for IDP in retail, but retail is mostly going to be on the financial back end side of automation, and at least from what I've seen. We don't have a whole lot of retail customers, but typically when we have a couple, and it's all on the back end in the finance space. In the billing and finance and logistics, shipping and product and content between distribution centers, inventory, things like that.
Okay. So apart from, I think, RPA, one interesting thing, and when we met, you told us that, you had partnered with Yellow and all. On the conversational AI space, how do you think things are moving? What will be the market size? Where do we see this year conversational AI going?
I think conversational AI it's got a lot of opportunity and a lot of potential. I don't think at least I haven't seen a really strong embrace of the technology. I think I think they still hire individuals to man telephones, and I think that there's some RPA opportunity, and I think there's definitely conversational AI opportunity. I just haven't seen the industry really embrace it yet. I think it'll come as the AI technology becomes even stronger and more predominant and a little more affordable for the marketplace.
Yeah, so I think it's still, we would say good to have. It's getting there in terms of something which is must to have, which is something probably 10 years back or 20 years back, we used to say multi-channel, contact centers, which we used to, kind of just good to have. But today it's kind of a must to have. Social media all over. So I think in coming days, we will definitely see that growth in conversational AI as well.
I totally agree. And we're seeing it in the larger companies, and it'll start to spread from there.
Absolutely. We have an audience question, and that's just pretty interesting one. How do you see we can leverage Chat GPT to enhance fast track automation, RPA, or business process automation? So that's a good one.
It's an interesting one. Well, Chat GPT is pretty interesting stuff and pretty exciting. And I do believe it's going to change our world. I'm already seeing it in the world of education. As a matter of fact, educators are taking steps to try and identify. They're actually creating tools and software now to be able to read a document and try and figure out whether or not it was actually written by an individual or written by ChatGPT. So I think it's pretty interesting in the, I think just personal and commercial space. I don't know that it's in our industry yet. Certainly it can play a role in some type of customer service potentially. And AI already does. So, OpenAI is a pretty interesting company, and ChatGPT is definitely going to change our world. I don't see it impacting our industry from a business process yet. I still think the business process requires some of the traditional tools. And I don't know that it'll help fast track. It's an interesting question. I haven't really given that much thought.
Yeah, I think, and Kapil is asking on top of that, for implementation standpoint, can a business do it on their own, or they absolutely need a partner? So I think that is.
So can a business do it on their own? Yeah, they can. It's going to take them a long time. They may not have the right tools. They might cobble some things together. I think that, from my opinion, the only way to do it is with a partner that has experience and even better experience in your industry or experience with a specific use case. But any automation partner that has years of experience in providing solutions is going to certainly expedite the process and make it more efficient and do a lot for providing a stronger ROI than if you try and do it on your own. And quite frankly, if that partner is using your standard industry tools, then if that partner for some reason were to go away, there's plenty of other ways to get support in that area, as opposed to developing something on your own and having to maintain and support that forever.
Yeah. And we see a lot of talk and economic slowdown and all these things. How do you think do you think will this impact the industry, or it will kind of propel growth? How this will play in the whole our business scenario that we are talking about in terms of automation and all?
I'm sorry, Anirudh, what is the question?
The question is, I think there is a lot of talk about economic slowdown and recession hitting and this and that. How do you think will that impact the whole talk around the atmosphere will impact the growth of this particular segment?
So I think companies will be a little more careful about their expenditures. They'll do more due diligence and give it more consideration, because it's at the beginning there's some expense. But I think at the very end, if you're doing a good job with that particular customer, they'll understand the real benefits of automation and how it can benefit them through a recession or a downturn in the economy. We went through the pandemic, and businesses were shut down and people were sent home. And companies realized very quickly the benefit of having automation technology so that people could work from anywhere. They could still get their work done. They didn't need to be in the office pushing paper around. So I think that the recession and any kind of or a recession or economic downturn certainly would cause companies to do a little more due diligence and be a little more cautious about spending money. But I think at the end of the day, they'll understand the real benefit of doing that, and that it'll help their business and help them sustain and grow.
Yeah, and how was it for you, or maybe some of your peers during COVID? Was it really took a hit, or how it was?
We were engaged in several projects at the time. The projects were delayed somewhat until everybody kind of figured out what was going on. But then we were all able to re-engage remotely and complete those projects. And then I think initially there was a little bit of a downturn, but ultimately we were fine. Our business wasn't affected all that much through the pandemic. We work with financial institutions and insurance companies, and their business continued. And people need to have, they still did banking and they still needed insurance, and things still happened. There was less claims processing, there was less of other things, but there was an increase in fraud and so on and so forth. So there was still opportunity for our technology, during the pandemic.
So I think I don't see any more audience questions. It has been very, very informative, John. And then learning from a veteran, and then knowing what has your journey been, some of these use cases, and how we see the next few years coming up, and the demand in terms of automation and conversational AI. We certainly look forward to a very bright future in terms of these technologies and their implementation, and some interesting use cases across verticals, not only BFSI. I think healthcare could be one, and there are many, and then other verticals wherein these technologies would be handy. So I think thank you so much for taking out time early morning, and we'll continue to kind of talk more, engage more, and work on some of the projects that come across.
Well, it's my pleasure. I do apologize for being late. It is morning here, and I had a difficult morning this morning, so I do apologize for being a few minutes late.
Fine. Thank you for, I know it's pretty early there, so thank you for taking out time.
My pleasure. It's always my pleasure to talk to you guys, and to speak with Kapil for sure.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay.
Have a good, take care, everyone.
Have a good day. Thanks.
Thank you.